you go down with her to Konza?
Yeah. I drive Rose down in
that
the Toyota East. Yeah, that doo-doo, man, has done mileage, boss. The places I've been with that car, man, it was a tough one. And she brought along Pastor M, Pastor Tosh, and a few other pastors. It was a convoy of pastors.
Oh.
And myself and Rose went to Konza because Rose said so. And couldn't close a deal on anything on that particular day. So I went back.
Why couldn't you close? What was happening? What was the...
So we looked at some in Chumvi, at Makutano Junction. There were half acres, and the pastors jumped on them before I had the chance to say ngoe. And then when we got to Konza, what they were selling was really huge. It needed many of us to get together. Yeah, and so we all left saying, let's see how we can do that. But no one ever followed up. None of the pastors ever followed, at least not with me. Maybe I was left out, I don't know. So I spent the next 3 weeks driving there every other day, literally 60 kilometers one way, randomly stopping Maasais, driving into their homesteads and asking if they would sell me some land.
What? So this was your sales, but now from a buyer's perspective.
Yeah, I was back
total
door knocking,
strangers.
Door knocking in a Toyota East in the Savannah grasslands.
Okay, now you've got to talk about this experience because that's insane. Because now this becomes you looking for property for you to buy and hold, but then in Kenya.
Yes, because we wanted our savings in something a bit more aggressive from a returns perspective than the bank was offering.
So what did that look like, engaging with those different people?
It was more of the same. Human psychology is the same, whether you're in Houston, Texas or Konza. Human beings are the same. You smile, you make eye contact, be assertive, be confident, be friendly. I ate so many ugali and sukuma wiki dishes in manyatas.
Hold on, so these guys were looking to sell?
Yeah, many were willing to sell. Because, the Maasais on the Konza side, Kajiado side of Konza particularly, are sitting on hundreds of acres, hundreds or thousands of acres per family. So for them to sell off, a 10-acre chunk is nothing. For them, it's like the plot of land that would have fed a goat.
Yeah.
And they have plenty left. So they were very willing. The challenge was finding one in the right price and the right size. Remember, we only had 150,000 bobs in savings. The smallest piece of land I found available was 15 acres. The rest were 50 acres and multiples of 50 acres, because that's just how Maasais roll. And they were asking 300,000 shillings per acre. So for this 15 acre, the smallest one, cheapest one I had found, I needed 4.5 million shillings to buy.
And what were you looking at the return being on that?
I had no idea. So the point was to hold it long term and see what happens with the market. And we flog for a profit later. Maybe it pays one of the kids' school fees or potentially covers a portion of our retirement at some point in the future.
Okay, so this was long term.
Yeah,
long-term investment. You weren't looking at the, what do you call this thing? The border. You're giving it 2 years.
No. This was long-term land banking, long-term wealth building, diversify the portfolio, hold some land.
Okay.
I'd seen my mom do that. It worked out well for the family. I've heard stories from everyone in their show. No Kenyan doesn't hear that story or hasn't heard the story. So it was a no-brainer. We just need to be able to buy it.
So even this 150,000 shillings that you had as savings, it was long-term savings. It was savings that you had sort of we're not touching this anytime soon. And leaving it here is giving us rubbish.
Well,
return.
Yeah, I think the idea was we're saving.
Okay.
And it just happened to be 150K. It was sitting in the bank. Either we leave it there until something comes up, then we spend it on, or we buy land and make an early investment in a place that's going to do some nice things in the future. Okay. So that was the idea.
So 300K an acre, 15 acres minimum is what you've got. Yep. You need 4.5 million.
4.5, yeah, in the Maasai. Mzee Daniel Oletapia Sian was the name. gave me 48 hours to raise a deposit of 1 million bobs, or he would sell to someone else who had made a higher offer.
Oh, hold on. So he was willing to sell it to you cheaper than. So that same that culture is with us. That culture of, it's not just the same culture of the border.
Yes.
You see.
Yeah.
So what was it about you? Do you feel that he was like, must have liked you?
Yes, I think he did, because later on he ended up inviting us to his home in Nyahururu for lunch one Christmas, which my family and I went.
What?
Yeah, he was a very nice gentleman. One of the few highly educated Maasais from the area. He was a government doctor who had been posted in Nyahururu back in the day. He fell in love with a lady there, married her. She was from there, so he stayed there. Had 3 sons whom he was now handing over his, I think it was 300 acres in Konza too. And to do that, he had to subdivide it amongst the 3 sons. So he was selling me the 15 acres to raise the capital he needed to subdivide and set his sons up.
So just from a historical perspective, because I know, and you for more information on this, they can go to the Goshen Acquisitions YouTube channel. Solomon does a lot of land, buying and selling of land in education on that channel. There are over 100 videos there. Definitely worth checking out. So anyway, let's first continue with the story. So you need 4.5 million bobs.
Yep.
You've got 100,000 Kenyan shillings. 150.
Yep.
You've got 48 hours to raise 1 million
bobs.
Yeah.
So this particular night, after we had made terms, I drove back to Nairobi and we had Bible study that evening. My car was muddy, covered in caked mud, top to bottom.
And you had gone for this thing alone?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd go by myself. I'd drop Aika off to work and dash to Konza. Come back in time to pick her, go to Bible study. And at Bible study, everyone was like, "Hey, Solo, your car is dirty. Are you in Konza again?" It's like, "Yeah." "Have you found anything, boss? You've been going like every other day. When is it going to end?" It's like, "Until I find what I need." "How much money do you have to spend?" 150. "Have you found anything?" "Yeah, but I need 4.5 mics. The guy has given me 48 hours to raise 1 million bobs in deposit, or he'll sell to a guy who's made him a higher offer. But out of principle, he will wait until the 48 hours are up before he takes the other offer." And they said, "What will you do?" And I remember saying, "I don't know. That's God's problem." That's God's problem.
I've done my bit.
I've gone by faith. I know I'm on the right track. And out of nowhere, one of them, I forget which one it was, said, again, these are the family I got adopted into, my sister's friends, remember? From Bible study. I joined the Bible study group. One of them said, "Solo, man, I wish I could help you. I have 300K in my savings. I can give it to you. You changa with yours, and at least it gets you closer. Then when you're done, when you sell what you don't want to keep, just give me back my 300K. Is that okay?" I was like, "Wow, that's really generous of you, man. Thank you." The next couple was like, "As guys have 350, you can have that one." Next couple, "We have 250, we'll give you." Like, what? Just like that, I had over 1 million bobs pledged. So I literally spent the next day driving to guys' houses and offices.
Collecting cash,
man.
Because this guy wanted cash.
Yeah. These guys don't roll with checks. Cash money. So I excitedly called the Maasai and said, "I have the 1 million bobs. You can come to Nairobi tomorrow. Let's meet at the lawyer's office. Bring your sons to witness the sale agreement. Make sure everyone's in agreement." And he did. He came.
Okay, that's a huge thing that you've brought up. This guy was going to subdivide the land to his sons.
Yeah.
So it was very important that you have the family members.
1,000,000%. I never buy land unless everyone in the family is aware that he's of adult age.
Oh.
Yeah. Anyone 18 and over, it doesn't matter how many there are. If they're ladies or guys, doesn't matter. If the guy has multiple wives, which is common with the Maasai community, all wives have to co-sign. and do affidavits, spousal consents. Those are actually a requirement by law today. After 2010, anyone selling land that they own personally has to get spousal consent, or else the transaction could be challenged and potentially annulled after the fact.
So you already sort of knew this in the mind that you don't want drama with the kids.
So this was,
you did this before?
Well, the constitution had just been promulgated in 2010, but the regulations had not been set up yet. For me, it was just instinctive. I do not want any drama. If Mzee Tapasian is selling, let all the family members be in agreement. And his younger brother, Mzee James Tapasian, who was actually the agent who put me onto the deal, also came to witness for his brother. So I felt relatively safe. All the necessary members of the family were aware and had consented. At
this time, had you done your due diligence? Is there a way to do due diligence with this Maasai community to figure out who the mother title is on?
Yeah, so with that area, there wasn't really such a thing as a mother title, because a lot of them were adjudicated parcels of land. That means the government of Kenya owned public land, which it then allocated to native inhabitants of the area. They did a head count, decided how much each family should get, then the land is subdivided
by the community amongst themselves.
So
within the
and
community,
then titles
they know.
are generated. Yeah.
Within the community, they know.
Absolutely,
They know, shambaya.
Yes, it's easy. Ole Tapasia ni wapi? Ni pale, ukifika pale kwa mtu unavuka. And Maasais are generally very solid with spatial orientation. They know whose land is whose. And so it's easy. Now remember, I'd been traversing there for 3 weeks, asking questions, talking to guys. So I had already gotten a good feel for whose land is where, who is generally known to be the owner of the land.
Which is due diligence.
Absolutely.
So due diligence means more than just going to the government agencies and checking out. Do the site visit.
There's things you learn in the site visit that cannot be generated in a government search.
I love it.
Yeah, you just have to get on the ground, especially if you're dealing with unknown parties, and there's no accountability measures beyond your own investigation. You have to get on the ground. Okay. Yeah.
So this guy comes, his 3 sons come. You have a lawyer involved. That's which is very important.
Absolutely, yeah. At this point, Andrew Ranja was introduced to me by one of my sisters, I think, from Mavuno. He was also Mavuno.
In fact, exactly. That sounds like a whole bunch of Mavuno.
Yes, yeah. Mavuno was strong, man. Huge economy by itself. So we met at Andrew Ranja's office and signed the sale agreement.
And who is the land being transferred to? Is there a registered company that you formed?
No, at that point it was just me, Solomon.
What?
Yeah, we're just buying land to keep our savings, remember?
Yes.
It just so happened that I had to buy way more land than I could afford because that was the smallest available. Maasais were not willing to deal with smaller parcels.
I get.
And so that's why the Life Group guys gave me their money so I could afford to buy it. I would sell off the excess and give them back their money.
But hold on, you've only bought worth. So this thing, you give the guy how much? 1.something million bobs?
I gave him exactly 1 million bobs.
Which is $10,000, but that's now, but I don't know, then maybe it was cheaper, but still 1 million bob. You have a
3.5 to him remaining, plus his brother, who was the agent, required another 600, how much is it? 108,000.
For the connection?
Yes.
Ooh.
As a brokerage fee,
yes,
as an agent fee, which I didn't mind because it was his brother and everyone was aware. Where I have issues paying agent's commission is when the seller is unaware, because very often they will bloat the price, collect the money, give the seller one sum and keep the difference, which is no bueno. No good. Yeah. We don't do that. Even licensed agents don't earn that sort of commission. 6% is a standard commission, and it's documented so that
and
everyone
seller is aware,
yes,
buyer is aware,
agreement.
and him as
And usually the commission is supposed to be paid by the seller. It just so happens that the Tapasian was not interested in paying his brother for helping him out, and that was their understanding. The brother would not ask his brother for a commission, so he asked me to pay him a commission for his efforts, and I didn't mind.
You were aware he had done his job.
Yeah, and everyone was there. It was part of the sale agreement, so and completely transparent. So I get home, I was so excited. I called Rose, my new mentor, and I said, Rose, guess what? I got my first sale agreement, 15 acres in Konza. I just paid $1 million. She was so happy. She was celebrating with me. And I told her, now the thing is, I need to raise 3.608 million bobs in 90 days. I don't know how I'm going to do that.
Thank God it's not 48 hours, man.
No, yeah, we got 90 days, which is a standard period by LSK conditions of sale. It could be less, it could be more. It just both parties have to agree, whatever that period is. 90 days is recommended, especially when you have to subdivide, because it takes time. There are several steps to go through. And so
once you give him, it's just an agreement. You have no title, no nothing.
No, we had his mother title.
Oh, he gives you the mother title at that.
He surrendered it to the lawyer.
Yeah,
the lawyer holds it in custody, because the title is for like 300 plus acres.
Yes.
At the appropriate point of time, the surveyor will collect the original title from the lawyer, sign out for it, because in case it gets lost, you know who is accountable. Yeah, and then they surrender it to the government of Kenya when they register the new subdivision scheme. It gets defaced and put in file, and they produce new titles for the new parcels.
Whoa, so this guy left with the title of 3?
Not me, he left it with the lawyer.
Yeah, of how many acres?
Over 300 acres.
Which is worth a lot.
Yes, at 300K per acre, that's a clean...
9M?
No, that's 90 million bucks.
90M? Whoa.
Yeah.
So what gives him... I mean, what would make him leave that kind of...
I mean, it was with the lawyer, it wasn't with me. So, there's safety there. Because the lawyer...
His lawyer or your lawyer?
So we happened to share the lawyer.
Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Ranja acted for both parties. So it was easy for him to trust the process. I was just confirming, it's 90 million bobs. Yeah, so...
okay.
Yeah, so that's how we initiated the transaction. And when I told Rose, and I asked her, I'm not sure how I'm going to raise the balance in the given time frame. She said, that's easy. What you should do, because I also came, I wanted to buy, but I can't afford a whole acre on my own. Yeah, I don't have that kind of cash unless I'm being given a long payment period to make monthly installments. Since that's not the case, why don't you sell me a quarter of an acre? And I told her, well, I would love to, but this area is restricted. You cannot subdivide lower than an acre.
So how had you found that information? Through your?
Through the surveyor who had done our DD for us, and also through the Ministry of Lands. When I went to do search, I inquired.
So you had done even search on this land?
No, you never pay unless you've done a search.
Okay, so once he told you, okay, but you, when did you do it? Because you've got 48 hours. When have you done all of this
The
stuff?
next day. So the day after my friends pledged their money, and the day I spent driving around, the lawyer was doing the search.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, nice. Okay, fully understood that. Oh, this is crazy. So there's 15 acres that you guys are getting. So far, how much has been pledged? 1.1M. So
1M, yeah.
So continue this story.
Yeah, so when Rose suggested that she can buy a quarter acre, and I informed her that I can't subdivide smaller than an acre at this time, because the government was very strict with subdivisions around Konza Techno City. In fact, they were proposing to make a 10-kilometer buffer zone around the city that could not be touched for some time. That was under a moratorium for all transactions.
Moratorium meaning?
Freezing of all transactions, whether subdivisions or master planning, or change of use, because they were still working on the Konza Techno City's master plan. So, and I didn't want to start off the process doing illegal things, right? So when I said to her I can only do 1 acre minimum, she said, okay, fine, I'll talk to my 3 sisters. They can also buy quarters. Put all our 4 names on the title deed for 1 acre. Yeah. So how much will you sell me a quarter for? So I told her, well, how much would you pay? It's like, well, I know some guys are selling at 180, 200 for eighths or quarters. And I said to her, would it be unreasonable if I asked for 199K for a quarter subdivided in an acre? So that means it's 798K for an acre. And she said, that's perfect. I can afford that. Sawa, put me down for the first acre. She sent me her money the next day.
Hers plus her sisters, or just hers?
Hers, and then her sister sent theirs after.
So that's 800K raised.
Yes, 798K raised. Then she says, do you have a small write-up? Send me a small description on email. I want to share with some of my lady friends from church. And then we see if they're interested. So I did. And over the next 14 days, I sold 16 quarter acres at that price. 4 acres worth of quarter acres for 798K per acre.
So you were okay, let me put it at 800K, just because so they can understand this math. You sold how many acres?
4.
So 800 times 4. So 3.2 M.
Yeah.
Plus you've already gotten a 1.1 M from your life group.
So now I have a balance of about 300 and something K. 14 days later. Remember, I had 90 days to raise a balance.
And you had 15 acres of land that you were buying.
Yes. And I was very transparent with Rose about it. But she also helped me understand that, when you subdivide land, and this is something I understood from the business, subdivided land is more expensive per unit because of the work that goes into planning, subdividing, legal fees, your marketing, your site visit expenses. You have to work all that in and ideally sell at a profit for more without overpricing. And the market controls that. If it's overpriced, the market won't buy. Prices are always set by the market. In this case, the market was already higher than that for quarter acres.
How much was a quarter going for at the market at that time?
I had actually looked at some when I was scouting for 250. I'd actually paid a deposit for one. I paid 50% deposit for one. Quarter acre at 250.
Quarter at 250?
Yeah, 250. And I pulled out because when I asked questions about how far along they were in the process, it became very clear to me they had no idea what they were doing.
So what, did they give you back your money?
Yeah. They refunded me immediately.
Who did you, okay, you don't have to, maybe let's forget that. So you have this 3.2 million bobs.
Yeah.
What's next?
So, I made payments to the Maasai.
Full payment?
To pay it down. No, I kept some to pay the surveyor for the subdivision work, the titling work, and so on. In the meantime...
And what do those expenses normally look like?
It'll depend today on the county you're in, because each county has a different schedule for each parcel you're creating, and also depending on the user. Back then it was nominal. The surveyor cost us about 300K total. The government fees to register the new titles was call it 1,500 bobs per title, including the new title. Yeah, so that's 1,500 bobs times how many blocks did we end up with? We ended up with about 13 blocks after access roads were accounted for. So it's very nominal.
Yeah.
In fact, you spend more on site visits than you do on government fees. You spend more on the fuel to visit the government offices than you do on the government fees. And over the next probably 12 months after we were selling little by little, every time the government of Kenya, which at the time was very good at marketing Konza Techno City. I credit that to Bitange and Demo.
Yes.
And his excellent management of that process. Every time there were ads and features on TV, interest would spike and people would call. Are you the guy who sold to Rose or so and whatever? I want one. Do you have any left? Yes. And they would buy. And then 13 months after we had signed the sale agreement, President Kibaki broke ground. Everyone in the show came looking.
So now people would come and start calling you?
Yes. People would call, brokers would call because they knew I had bought and subdivided.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the land there were in big chunks, which a lot of people can't afford.
What?
So if you had subdivided parcels, it was easy. People would find you.
Yeah, because they want the quota.
Because they can afford the smaller.
So that breaking ground, what kind of returns are we talking about?
We did